Hi, Maria Mandarino here, and it has been a while. And I apologize for not being here. I told you guys last episode, I had some major moves happening in my life between setting up a new office here, which by the backdrop is not set up yet. But I'm in the home studio right now, and my clinic also moved simultaneously. So there's been a whole lot of change here. So I've needed to take some time off from the channel. So I do apologize for that. I'm going to try to make it up to you tonight with a topic that's actually really near and dear to my heart. Because I am a Scorpio moon and we're having a full moon in Scorpio right now. So we're going to talk about that tonight and what that means for each of the nine Enneagram types. I'd love to know where Scorpio is in your chart. If you want to share that at the end of the episode. But I also, before we jump in, want to remind you the usual drill. Um, Please like the episode, subscribe to the episode if you have not already, and then you'll be alerted on upcoming episodes. Please share and comment, as I already mentioned about commenting. All of this really helps to raise the algorithm of the channel, which actually has been growing, even though I've not been on the channel for a couple of weeks. So kind of tells me that there's some resonance to this work beyond just the transits that are happening. But this transit really felt important to me, not just because I am a Scorpio moon, but because I'm just seeing so many people right now struggling with this energy. And because I have a moon in Scorpio, I don't struggle with it. So I really wanted to make a point of coming on tonight and talking about this. And and offering you some insights into the nine types during this Scorpio moon. So Scorpio full moon, I should say. So I live in Arizona, as some of you may know. So scorpions are part of our landscape. I'm grateful to not have had close encounters with them, but I know people who have because they're endemic to where I live. But where do you find them? Typically in the dark, typically under rocks and those places where people are usually not looking to encounter, or maybe they are looking to encounter a scorpion. There are people that go out with black lights here to find them, but yeah, I mean, and the reason for that is, the scorpion has this tail that stings, and it's quite unpleasant for people and can affect your nervous system, depending on the kind of scorpion bite, or sting, I should say. Um, but the yes, the scorpion stings. However, the scorpion stings because it wants to be under the rock left alone, and something gets in its way or something comes upon its path that scares it. And so that stinger is there as a defense mechanism because it's afraid. Okay. And I think that's an important theme to talk about when we're talking about Scorpio and the full moon in Scorpio, because we're talking about the full moon, one of the luminaries lights up the night sky. It certainly doesn't light it up like the sun lights up the day sky, right? So there's an unknown quality to the dark. There's the things that we don't see. If you think of the moon card in the tarot, right? There's a scorpion at the bottom of that image, in the darkness with the moon, with the water, because scorpion was originally a water creature. We here in Arizona were at one time underwater, and that's why the scorpions are still here. Um, so they are they are a symbol of transformation. And that's kind of where I want to go with this episode and this moon in Scorpio, because and I say this all the time with the Enneagram, we have options, right? We have the shadow, the reactive place where we come from and we don't know much about our Enneagram or anything at all about our Enneagram. Um, and it's kind of like the stinger on the scorpion, right? It's just we just kind of react from shadow. Or when we're informed, when we're Enneagram informed and Enneagram aware, we can now make choices, right? And that's how I look at this scorpionic energy as well. We can choose to react and have this reptilian response and, do the sting when something scares us, be mean or nasty, vindictive, the lower expression of Scorpio, or the higher expression is transformation, right? So again, it's like that Enneagram high or low. The astrology is the same way. Which are we going to work with, our higher self or our shadow self? So that's the tactic that I'm taking with this. It's are we coming from fear? Do we want to attack? Do we just want to sting? Or do we want to ride the waves of transformation? And that's scary in and of itself. I mean, we don't just like wake up and say, oh, hey, I'm going to transform this day, because transformation usually doesn't work that way, right? There's a process to this, and it takes bravery, faith. It takes trusting the intuition, which gets back to that moon card in the tarot, right? Because you've got to walk in the dark. You've got to walk just by the light of the moon, which means you can't see everything. You have to trust your intuition. So this full moon, I think, can bring you that if you want to work with that energy of intuition. So I am going to start with the body types for this little exploration through the full moon in Scorpio, and looking at the hidden. And the reason I say the hidden strengths in your Enneagram type for this episode, again, the Scorpion likes to live under the rocks, right? It likes to be in the dark under the rocks. So the hidden. Um, so what does that also mean? What's hidden in the soil are the gems, right? But if we don't dig into that soil, right, we don't know what's in there. So that's kind of how I'm looking at the Enneagram. It gives you that opportunity to dig, to go under the rocks and kind of see what's in the dirt, see what's in the dark. Um, the places that usually people don't want to explore, right? Usually if you're going to work in the garden, you're going to do it by daylight, not moonlight, right? But the moonlight causes you to be more present, more in touch, because you can't see. You have to trust your instincts. And again, Scorpion, highly instinctual creature, right? Down to the sting. I'm afraid I'm going to sting you, right? So that's instinct. So again, we can take the higher or the lower road with instinct. All right, so I'm going to start with the body types. We're going to look at this through the filter, let's say, of the full moon in Scorpio. So type 9, our peacemaker. Um, your hidden Scorpio inspired gift, or one of them, I believe, is a grounded stillness, um, where where nothing happens. So type 9 is really good at just being, right? So that grounded stillness. And that's something that you do bring to your relationships, is this grounded stillness, this presence, right? So then in considering that grounded stillness, I call it an anchoring presence that soothes and restores those around them. It's a stepping in with type 9. So we know type 9s can numb out when things get uncomfortable, but when those scorpionic kind of forces, the things that call upon transformation in a relationship, usually type 9s are really good at stepping into that. And as a matter of fact, in the 369, in that triangle, typically the people that I work with who have strong Scorpio in their chart have something going on in that 369. It's pretty remarkable. So that's kind of why I wanted to start with the 9. I think this energy resonates with my type 9s. Next body type is type 8. So we know you're the protector, you're also the challenger, right? You are kind of scorpionic by nature, and if anything, it's probably the low energy of Scorpio that is easier for our 8s, right? Because they want to just come in and respond, take over. Something doesn't feel right, they're going to fight, right? And that's that stinger. Can be that stinger. So, but your hidden gift, the one that's in the dirt, the gem that's in the dirt and the darkness, right? Is not just protection, but a protective depth. And I'm calling that an intense heart So intensity is something else we associate, by the way, with Scorpio, right? So eights bring intensity. We always say eights are like too much in the room, right? They're always accused of being too much, too intense. So bring that intensity to your heart, type eights, right? Bring your intensity, that scorpionic intensity, to your heart. Be capable of not just being fierce, but being fiercely compassionate, which gets into some of that vulnerability that you guys, that's where your work is, right? Is getting to vulnerability, right? So fierce compassion, which leads to safe harbor. And you like protecting people, right? Not rescuing people, but you like protecting people. So that intense heart, bringing that energy of an intense heart, capable of fierce compassion, and being a safe harbor, being that safe place, actually being the place, not being the person who defends the place, but being the place. There's a difference. Okay. Um, and type one, the reformer, right? Um, I feel that your hidden Scorpio inspired gift is an alchemical integrity. So we know ones are all about integrity, right? Perfection, reforming, making things better. And they are people that typically are very much in integrity. But this alchemical integrity, this idea of turning something into something completely different than the first thing, right? Lead into gold is what we think of with alchemy. So this deep inner purity that the one has, that when embraced, instead of having the inner critic saying you could be better, embracing that deep inner purity for what it is, not saying it's got to be better, not saying you got to reform it, perfect it, just accepting, embracing your deep inner purity, embracing that. And that leads to healing and a magnetic, I'm going to say connection between you and those around you. And that's the alchemy. That's turning the lead into gold. That's kind of turning that inner critic into something pure and authentic. That is healing, has the potential to heal not just you, but those around you. Okay, so that's it for our body types. Going to move into the heart types. Type two are helpers. Your hidden gift is transformative love. Emphasis on transformative. And being able to catalyze healing through your unconditional presence. So we know type twos have this, or can have this quid pro quo quality of, they feel that they know what your needs are, so they're going to just step in. And then if they step in and meet your needs before you even know you have a need, that means you're going to give them something in return. So that's why this is unconditional. That's why it has to be unconditional, to get to that hidden gem. Because when you can love without being conditional about it, there's a whole other level of healing, and a whole other level of experience, and love is healing, right? So there's a whole other experience of love that you will experience and know, by being unconditional about what you do bring, about how you bring presence, of trusting that you don't have to anticipate, fill a need, fill a gap, just be the catalyst for love. See what happens, right? So it goes without saying, I'm going to jump around a little bit here. The scorpionic energy takes some bravery, right? Because again, we're talking about dark energy that we can't see, and I don't mean like dark, like bad energy. I don't mean that. I don't go there. But being in the darkness, the light of the moon, right? You can't see everything. That requires some bravery and trust and the willingness to do something differently, even though you can't see everything around you right now, because the full moon is in Scorpio. So it's more illuminated than at any other time, but it's still dark. It's still nighttime, right? And again, it's the light of the moon, not the light of the sun. Okay. So back to the heart types. Type three are performers. Your hidden gem, your hidden Scorpio gift, is authentic radiance. We know that you guys like to be authentic. The fours do too. But being real, is a thing, wanting to be, wanting to be on stage and seen for what you're bringing on stage, right? So most threes will tell you, not, again, not as much as the fours. Most threes will say that being authentic matters to them. But authentic radiance, and that's what happens. You become radiant, you glow, right? When you dare to fully be yourself, not just the character in the script, not just one part of yourself, not just the part of yourself you think you should put on stage, but to dare to fully be yourself, to authentically, fully and authentically be yourself, and how that illuminates your being, and how people get to see who you really are, not just the mask that you put on for a particular performance or for a particular role that you play in someone's life or in a certain setting. Okay, so there's your hidden Scorpio gift. Type threes, authentic radiance. Type fours are individualists. I'm giving you creative transmutation. That's how I see your creative, not your creative gift, but your Scorpion-like gift, your Scorpio-like gift, I should say. Creative transmutation. So we know you guys are creative by nature, right? You're the individualist, you're the romantic. You see beauty. You value beauty. I always think of my type fours as being like this Venusian. And I know we're not going down the Venusian path tonight, but I just think of you guys as really representing Venus quite well, right? So creativity, beauty, and seeing beauty, even the most hideous things, you guys can see beauty, right? It's one of the true gifts that you have on the Enneagram. But creative transmutation. So I see that as the ability to turn deep emotions into beauty and insight, right? So you see the world differently. Again, you can see even within the grotesque, you can find beauty, you can find form, you can find wisdom. Um, and here's where too often my fours have gone. You go down your own rabbit hole with it, and you go down there alone. So because you have this amazing gift to see, I'm going to keep saying it, beauty in the grotesque, right? You can transmute that for the rest of us. You don't have to do that by yourself. And I'm going to encourage you to not do it by yourself, because the rest of us who can't easily do what you do as far as finding beauty in everything, even the hard things, we need you to lead us down that road. So creative transmutation is really how you can work this Scorpio full moon type fours. You understand the soulfulness, and most fours that I know, you're pretty damn fearless. Um, some of you don't seem that way on the surface, and I know fours can want to be rescued. Um, But somewhere in you, there's this fierce willingness to go into darkness, right? Go into, under the rocks. Um, there might be a scorpion there, but you're a four, you're a four. You're not a five or a six, right? And we're going to get to those shortly. But you are brave. You have your own four way of doing bravery. And that bravery can transmute the darkness, the things that frighten the rest of us, and the things that you just kind of hold in awe, because you're struck by how unique, and sometimes, beautifully unique things are that might overwhelm or scare the other types. So fours, open it up to the rest of us. Don't go down the rabbit hole by yourself. Right? Use this energy to transmute, to use creative transmutation in this transit. Type fives, the observer. We're in the head types now. Your hidden Scorpio inspired gift is sacred insight. That's what I named it. So we know you're the observer, right? Wisdom is one of your traits in being able to observe and extract wisdom from what you observe, right? But a wisdom that sees truth that others often miss. So similar to the fours, where the fours going to go into the grotesque or the shadows where the art might be found, right? The creativity is in the shadows, right? Um, so for you fives, it's the wisdom that you see because you observe, you see what others don't see. You see truth and don't take for granted that everyone sees it. Okay, because you see truth, universal truth, not your own truth, because your own truth is not truth. But you have, the observer stands back, right? It's the higher expression of the five is omniscience, seeing as God sees. So when you can get to that place and you can see real, genuine truth with a capital T and bring your wisdom to it and then take that truth with a capital T to those around you. That's using the gem in the soil. That's using your Scorpio gift. Wherever Scorpio is in your chart, right? We've got this full moon happening. It's somewhere in everybody's chart right now. So and that's a whole other ball of wax, depending on what house it's happening in for each of you. But yeah, no matter what house, sacred insight and bringing truth and wisdom to those around you, type fives. That's the gift of this full moon for you, this full moon in Scorpio. Okay, so a couple more left. Type six, the loyalist. Um, your gift is fierce loyalty. So we know you do loyalty. Fierce is not a word we usually associate with six. We usually associate fierce with eight, unless you're a counterphobic six, but that's still a different kind of fierceness. It's a fierceness that's based on fear. It's I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me for the counterphobic six. So a fierce loyalty, either the phobic or the counterphobic. Fierce loyalty, a protective strength that becomes deeply empowering. Here's the key, type six, when you trust it. Trust is the hardest thing for you, right? You want to poll everybody in the room to find out, to make sure that your thinking is right. Well, I'm going to ask you to walk down this path in the darkness with the illumination of only the moon, knowing that there might be scorpions under the rocks or whatever else, right? The things you cannot see, the dangerous things. Six doesn't like danger, right? The dangerous things that you can see and be fiercely loyal nevertheless, because you have that in you. That's the hidden gem in the darkness for you in the soil. That's the thing that we have to excavate during this Scorpio moon, for Scorpio full moon, right? So the protective strength that becomes deeply empowering when you can trust it. So we talk about faith with type six and the journey of faith being the journey of the six. So remember that right now. It's the journey of faith. And it's, again, I've said it before to the other types, being brave. But to you guys, saying be brave, type six, vibrates much stronger than it does for the other types. So fiercely loyal, be brave, have faith, and protective strength. Okay. Type seven are enthusiasts. What do they like to do? They like to avoid pain, right? And what does the Scorpio do? It stings. It's painful, right? Um, so it's the fear, because again, Scorpio has to do with fear. Um, but with seven, it's the fear of pain, right? So it's the fear of the sting. It's the fear of whatever might hurt you, not just the Scorpion. Okay. Um, Sevens don't want to do pain. They don't believe they came here to, sign up to do pain. So they're joyful people, right? They're fun people to be, they love fun. They're fun people to be around, right? So I used the word joyful, and I also gave you the word alchemy. And I used alchemical with type one, but for type seven, joyful alchemy. And again, it's this idea of turning lead into gold, which, we think of as the impossible, right? So joyful alchemy. To you, type seven, that might feel impossible to take something that is scary and potentially painful and bring joy to it. Like you just want to run away from that, right? That's in your nature. You just want to get away from what might create pain. And I'm going to say use alchemy. Okay. Turn the lead into gold. Turn the pain into joy. Because that's basically what this is about, right? Turning the lead into gold, turning the pain into joy, instead of running away from the pain, going on to the next joyful thing or the next fun thing, right? So it's you have the ability, because you are talented people, to take that talent and transform darkness, which may hold pain, right? Because we can't see what's in it, so you don't know. It may hold pain. So transform the darkness into inspiration and light. So I think it's no coincidence that many type sevens are guidance counselors or counselors of some sort. Um, so you have this innate ability in you to turn lower emotions, fear of pain, into the higher emotions and use them for inspirational purposes. Bring light to them, illumination from within, the illumination from within, to turn pain into joy, not fun, turn pain into joy, real, authentic joy, that illumination that we think of when it comes to the authentic expression of joy and not just fun. Okay, because there's a difference. And that wraps it up. That wraps it up for the 9 types. So I hope that gives you something to work on. Sorry, I'm literally tossing this out to you just a few hours into the full moon. So sorry for being a little bit late. But I know if you're anything like me, I start to feel this kind of energy a few days before it reaches, and I'm still very aware of it a few days after. So use it. Use this not just during the full moon, but whenever you go into shadow, right? This is a tool you can apply. You can use the archetype of the full moon in Scorpio really at any time, but it's more prevalent right now, right? So now it's easier. It's here. It's in front of you. It's kind of on a silver platter right now. But this is archetypal wisdom that you can always apply, and that's why I mix this with the Enneagram, because. And I think that's why the algorithm has shown that people are still watching and still subscribing, even though I have not had a current episode up, because this is timeless stuff. Between the archetypes of the astrology and the Enneagram, this is stuff we can use at any time. But right now, the themes are probably emerging in your life. So if you're afraid of something right now, or something's just like triggering fear for you, making you be a little stingy and prickly, a little defensive, a little gruxy, it's probably this energy, right? So use it now, but I'm going to say use it always when it applies. Okay, these are tools. They're just tools you can always use. And there'll be sometimes where you'll be more inspired to use them than other times, but you can always use them. Okay, so if you do not know where this is happening in your chart, you do want to explore maybe even just where Scorpio is in your chart. Um, what planets are related, what the aspects are. Reach out, schedule a session with me. You can go to my website, mariamandarino.com. If you just kind of want to get a sense of what I offer and how I may be able to help you, and the different things that I do offer a free discovery call where I talk about those things and what may pertain to you best. Or you can just schedule a session with me for either astrology, Enneagram, spiritual direction. I have a few different options for that. And that is what I go over in the discovery call as far as what the options are and how I work. You can just schedule one session at a time. I also have memberships available for people who want to do more concentrated work with me on a monthly basis, which is what most people do. Certainly don't have to. So there's a few options. So the discovery call is where I kind of go over that with you, and I kind of get a sense of what it is that you need. And then we go from there. Or as I said, you can just schedule time with me to have a chart reading or do Enneagram work, spiritual direction. if you're in town, if you're in the Phoenix Valley and you would like to see me for acupuncture, which is the other thing that I do, you're welcome to see me in the clinic here where I do more transformational work. I do more spiritually based acupuncture. I certainly treat pain and things like autoimmune disorders, fertility, anxiety, depression. I pretty much treat everything. Unless you need to be in an emergency room, then you're going there. But I treat the normal things that people come to acupuncturists for, but I also, so much of my work is spiritually based in acupuncture as well, kind of similar to what I do here. But there I do it with needles, and there are certain patterns of sacred geometry that I work with in my clinic that can open you up to more of this kind of level of work. So again, if you're here, you're planning a trip to the valley, reach out. I schedule. I would say if you're planning on visiting, about a month in advance is when you should probably schedule. At least at this time of year in the winter, a little longer out than that. So that's it for today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience while I've been in transition here. I'll probably be in transition for a few weeks more. So I may not get one out next week. I'll try my best, but I'm not going to promise. But eventually, probably by next month, I'll be back on my normal weekly rhythm with episodes. So thank you so much for being here. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Check out the website, Maria Mandarino. Actually, I said mariamandarino.com, and it is right now. But the website's going to be separated out. Right now, it's all one website for acupuncture and this work with Enneagram and astrology. But the new website domain is actually therootedmystic.com, and it's therootedmystic.com. So I'll have that in the show notes too. mariamandarino.com still works, but in another month, that's just going to be acupuncture. So, alrighty, hope I didn't confuse you with that. And I think that's about it. So again, like, comment, subscribe, share, and I will see you next time. Be brave, and I'll see you next time. Bye.